Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this video today. My name is Rama, and along with Nitesh, my co-author, I'll be presenting this talk titled It is Currently Hodgepodge, Examining Practitioners' Challenges During Co-Production of Responsible AI Values. In last 2 years, there is an increasing emphasis on developing AI more responsibly. For example, in November 2021, there was a historic agreement signed between 193 countries to develop AI responsibly. Similarly, there have been several movements, such as ethical AI, fate, and explainable AI, that have critiqued the lack of specific values in AI algorithms. In addition, they have put forward several recommendations to tackle these issues. Industry organizations are trying to respond to these criticisms by finding ways to operationalize and implement the recommended values. They are bringing different practitioners that work on AI, such as engineers, UX researchers, and ethicists, to come together to think, co produce, and enact on different values under a new umbrella term called responsible AI. While these responsible AI efforts are a step in the right direction, there is a gap between the aspirational objectives of these responsible AI initiatives and the actual implementation problems on the ground. We wanted to fill this gap by studying the current roadblocks within responsible AI initiatives across different industries, roles, and organizations in natural work settings. To achieve this, we posed two following research questions. First, what challenges AI/ML practitioners face when co-producing and implementing our AI values? And second, what kind of strategies do practitioners use to overcome these challenges? Before moving forward, we wanted to take a moment to define the concept of co-production that we use in our research question. Hasanoff defines co-production as a form of collective knowledge production, where technical experts come together and create new knowledge. In this study, co-production refers to the act of making responsible AI values and creating new RAI knowledge that can be used to make AI ML models more equitable. To answer our research questions, we conducted a qualitative study. Using the quota sampling technique, we recruited 23 diverse ML practitioners from 10 different types of organizations. These practitioners were actively engaging in responsible AI efforts within their companies. To encourage interviews to share their experiences around RAI values and practices, we started our conversations using a list of RAI values as put forward by Jakesh et al. Using the value list as a probe in our interviews, we explored four key topics, including challenges in value sharing, collaboration issues, value conflicts in process, and how participants handle the challenges to achieve alignment. We analyzed our overall data using thematic analysis. Following an objective approach, we started our analysis with an open coding process without any presuppositions. Once we developed a stable code book, we grouped these codes into codes using Hasanoff's co-production framework, resulting in our themes. A few examples of these themes are shown on the right, such as value ambiguity, exploration rigidity, value conflicts, and value strategies. We present our final findings categorized based on the three tenets of co-production framework, namely institutional structures that correspond to high-level organizational structures enabling co-production activities, discourse or collaborative exchanges that produce new RAI knowledge, and lastly, representations, which are artifacts and processes used to reduce roadblocks in discourse. While our paper presents in-depth challenges in and around each of these tenets, for the sake of brevity, we present a selected few for each category in this presentation. I will now hand over to Nitesh, my co-author, to talk more about the findings.
Thanks, Rama. My name is Nitesh, and I'll walk us through the rest of the findings. Our first tenet concerns with challenges in institutional structures. AI/ML practitioners shared that structures surrounding the responsible AI initiatives were highly imbalanced for co-production. The top-down structures were mostly created in response to external regulatory pressures. This meant that the structures were rigid and catered to only a few key RAI values that impacted organizations' core business values. RAI practitioners also use these structures, describe them as being in a hodgepodge state. If practitioners had to engage in more contemporary values, they had to do it on their own in a bottom-up manner. Such efforts were taken up by only few motivated practitioners who called themselves RAI vigilantes. These vigilantes took it upon themselves to set up RAI structures within their team, educating their teams and aligning RAI values with their team's objectives. RAI vigilantes shared how these overall RAI efforts were often not considered official or were prioritized in the AI ML work. This contributed to a lot of stress on the vigilantes as they had to go out of their way to translate their RAI efforts to tangible outcomes and concrete metrics that aligned with organizational goals. RAI discourses that occurred on top of imbalanced structures contributed to tensions between the RAI vigilantes and the end users. This is because vigilantes and end users perceive the same RAI values differently. Vigilantes perceived RAI values to be mutable and negotiable, allowing values to be implemented in stages instead of all at once, such as the value of transparency or privacy. However, end users perceived these values like privacy and transparency as absolute and non-negotiable, creating conflicts at the time of implementation. Tensions also arose between RAI vigilantes and other AI ML practitioners in their teams when they prioritized different RAI values that had knock-on effects on each other. For example, engineers who were trying to solve the problem of fairness often engaged in activities to improve their datasets, such as introducing new demographics in their training data. However, such actions created knock-on effects on new values, such as privacy or safety, that were often deprioritized but were important to other AI ML practitioners. In response to the institutional and discourse challenges, vigilantes developed several strategies to remove roadblocks in RAI co-production. One strategy was to engage with independent agencies that provided RAI consultation to streamline unbalanced structures. In our study, we found these agencies provided RAI certifications, especially for organizations whose business was not primarily in technology sector. These RAI certification programs brought technical and non-technical practitioners under one roof and introduced different RAI values and co-production techniques to make them compliant to future regulations. To improve the quality of this course, practitioners in several organizations implemented adversarial frameworks that provided a controlled environment to tackle disagreements. For instance, a few practitioners implemented adversarial role plays where practitioners wore hats of complementary roles, engaged with their values, and defended them as if they were their own. Such techniques broaden practitioners' perspective around new RAI values, reducing tensions and conflicts during this course. Based on our overall findings, our study provides recommendations in the three tenets of co-production. First, we introduce the notion of middle-out institutional structures. We show how such structures can help regain balance by tapping into synergies of both the top-down and bottom-up structures, while reducing the challenges within them. For example, to reduce stress on bottom-up structures, flat teams can standardize bottom-up RAI practices and provide support when other teams in the organizations implement them. Second, we laid down different strategies that can be used to reduce tensions and conflicts in value discourse. For example, we introduced the notion of co-production journeys, a neat alternative to computational benchmarks for some of the new RAI values. Lastly, we present an exhaustive list of strategies used by practitioners as a toolkit and recommend a few strategies that can bring external stakeholders into RAI value conversations. Some of these strategies, findings, and takeaways are listed here. We hope you do read and engage with our paper available at the link on the screen. Thank you for listening. Bye.